Hello, we're on stream. Hello, Mom. Hello, I'm on TV.
Mom, get the camera.
Crazy. Welcome back. We're here, day 2 of the Nova Cup. The semi-finals and the grand finals. Are you hyped, dude?
I am, and actually, we get to cast every semi-final and final, so we're in for a lot of LTD and a lot of high-quality LTD as well.
So by popular request from both players and viewers alike, we have decided to go for casting both semi-finals rather than having them played simultaneously. So there will now be a maximum of 11 games played on stream today instead of the maximum 8 that we had scheduled. So it's a bit of a Legion TD fiesta on the cards for us today. So I'm pretty excited about that. And
I'm excited. I mean, I think everyone who got that far is like very well known, at least in Division 1. And they're all exceptional players, and so I think we're in for some really, really good games.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. So the first game that we have on stream today is going to be the CC Jesters, that is Shadowings and JokeonU, versus Xcrash, which is, of course, Xgod and Ashton Butcher. So, again, very, very high-level play. We've got multiple 3K MMR players in this lobby, and it's just going to be a hell of an exciting match, I think. And really conflicting playstyles as well, because we know that Shadow and Joke love to go for those mega-starved games, whereas Ashton and Xgod obviously more heavily in favour of the hard early pushes and income and snowball-style gameplay. So kind of interesting to see which side comes out on top in that, but either way, I think this is going to be a really exciting matchup.
I mean, interesting enough, the game we saw yesterday between Shadowings and JokeonU versus, as far as I remember, it should have been Fail for Fun and Waving Creed. We saw that Waving Creed is also a player who goes for a lot of income and a lot of late game scaling, and he actually got smashed by Shadowings' Starve playstyle, which should in theory be countered by incomes. So we'll see how that one pans out this time.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is going to be a pretty exciting matchup. And do you think we'll see like a Fiesta game with Ashton Butcher in the game? Because that's going to be pretty hype.
I mean, Fiesta as to someone picking the Fiesta Mastermind option, or Fiesta as to someone leaking every wave early on?
Yeah. I don't know if JokeonU is trolling, but he says that not everyone is here. So I think that just means that Ashton's not here.
I don't know. Like, actually, I don't know. Oh yeah, they decided they'd start on 45.
Yeah. Oh, well, maybe we've got a bit of time to talk about the players then. So, obviously, Ashton, very well known for being an absolute god on the solo queue ladder. Like, he just can carry harder than pretty much any other player out there. When it comes to the solo style on the ladder, he just pushes the workers harder than anybody else. He sends income harder than anybody else, and he does this thing where he just causes Ashton problems, right? That's what we call it when we play against Ashton. We've got a bit of an Ashton problem going on over here because he just gets absolutely enormous with his style of play, and if you don't beat him early, he's gonna beat you late game.
Yeah, I mean, for those who don't know it, Ashton Butcher, the player who has had the highest peak rating of all time, and that's like quite some time ago, so he certainly knows the ways of the game, and he's like very proficient in his own game style or gameplay style. But we'll see. I mean, certainly Legion spells and also Mastermind options since the latest patch might influx the way you have to play your game heavily.
Yeah, I mean, like the Fiesta game style is basically devised for Ashton, right? You get +4 income every time you leak. Well, he's going to leak a lot early, but he's going to have more workers than you. He's going to have more income than you. And now with Fiesta, he's going to have +4 every single time he leaks. So it's just like this enormous snowball, Ashton-shaped snowball rolling down the hill, ready to crush your entire village at the bottom.
But I think that's also where Shadowings playstyle comes in, because if someone's hard saving on you and you're leaking or your teammate's leaking, you just give that saver more and more time to like generate that extra 20 Mythium, 40 Mythium to be able to send like power mercenaries before income and push out like the little bit of more that like breaks you and costs you some King HP early on.
Oh, for sure. Right, let me see how are these players. They're all ready. All right, we're ready when you are.
And we are allowed to start. That's what we've got in.
Awesome. Well, it looks like all of the players are ready, so we should be able to get straight into this first game. So, guys, if you're just joining the stream, we are going to have an absolute party worth of Legion today. We're going to have 2 semi-finals back-to-back, and then we're going to have the grand final of the very first Nova Cup with, I think, $300 to play for all of the teams, so pretty exciting.
Yeah, it certainly will be exciting. I think a solid case can be made that a team in this division can take it home. I mean, I think out of the top 4 teams, everyone can take it home. I don't think there's someone who's clear favorite or clear underdog.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, without further ado, guys, we're about ready to get into this very first game. So this is a pretty exciting one right here. We've got Xcrash, which is, of course, Xgod and Ashton Butcher on the left-hand side, and we have the CC Jesters, which is Shadowings and JokeonU on the right-hand side. So, as we said earlier, a bit of a clash of styles. We've got very, very income-heavy versus very, very starve-heavy, and really excited to see how this one plays out.
Yeah, and we can see that Xcod and Shadowings and also Ashton.
Everybody chooses greed, so I wonder what that 4th option was. It might have been something like redraw, which of course is not that popular at the high end of the ladder.
Yeah.
Now we have Joke takes lock-in. Okay, lock-in Graal actually.
I mean, that's also something like people consider very strong, as Graal is the strongest, one of the most versatile units, especially considering it gives you different openers. But before we touch upon the Legion spells, let me just confirm, I got word from the players, the 3rd mastermind option was indeed Fiesta. So we can see Ashton Butcher, the player for whom Fiesta was invented, basically, not picking the mastermind option of Fiesta.
Oh, it was Fiesta, was it?
Yeah, it was Fiesta. I just confirmed with the players.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of weird that Ashton didn't pick Fiesta. I really thought he would. Yeah,
I think it would make sense, especially with his playstyle. But on the other hand,
I guess you don't want to play Fiesta against Shadow, right? Because he's not going to be sending you income every wave to let you pro league every wave. He's going to be starving you for 7 waves in a row and then sending you an ogre on wave 7, right? So in that situation, the +4 is not really worth it.
But Joke is sending onto Ashton, so that might have been the case. But I think it's actually very hard to manage in such skilled a position to manage Fiesta when everyone's hyper aware of what you're doing and when you're doing it.
Yeah.
So that you want to leak 10%, but then you get a send and suddenly you're leaking 80%, and that might not be worth it in the end.
Yeah, something interesting to note here, by the way, is that Xgod didn't spend his Mythium on wave 1. So Joke's in a bit of a difficult position now, because what he wants to do is go for that Sovereign on wave 3, but if he doesn't add anything, and if Xgod goes for double snail here, I even thought he might skip and go for a Dragon Turtle, which would have ruined Joke. But even a double snail here is very, very dangerous. So now Joke has to decide, well, am I going to build here, or do I just take the risk?
Yeah, I mean, I think Joke, with the Graal, being super safe here with the cat added, but he just gets 20, so it's not even the common pre-snail approach to a Graal, but rather just the delayed king up, if you will, just giving you 6 gold for not getting it on.
Well, that's actually really big, because that's pushed JokeonU away from the strategy he wanted to play with going for the Sovereign, right? I mean, maybe he just stays 4 workers and gets it anyway, but that doesn't feel like a great play to me. I think that's what he's going to do. I think he's just going to stay 4 workers, sell the Graal, and get the Sovereign anyway.
I think it is, and as you said, it slows him down actually by a mile.
Well, he can't. He's 9 gold short.
Is he gonna greed out wave 3 with the cat and the Graal and just go for the Avenger on 4? Is that what he's aiming for?
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be, right? Because otherwise he would have placed, pushed the 5th worker.
It's so bad that he's on 4 workers, and meanwhile the person he's sending into, Ashton Butcher, he's on 6. And look how aggressively Ashton's playing here.
I mean, and he'll just continue to play aggressively. He's got a flower, he's got the insane early game, he's got 6 workers and the treasure hunted.
And the pack rat as well. That is honestly insane. The amount of value that Ashton's generating here with all of those workers, with the pack rat as well, is just off the charts. And imagine if JokeonU sent a Dragon Turtle here, I think he could have leaked him really hard. But because he stayed on 4 workers, he just doesn't have any pressure against Ashton.
and Ashton's. I mean, 6 workers, 20 Mythium to send, and 60 already sent, and he will hold here.
I actually think that might be the biggest I've ever seen anybody on Wave 3, when you have 6 workers and a treasure hunt on the cards. I don't remember seeing anyone bigger than that before. So I've seen 7 workers, sure, but 7 workers is only another 50, right? The treasure hunt is 75.
Yeah, I mean, he's continuing to hunt, which is actually great for him, and I don't think there's a chance for him to leak here. He'll just hold again, and
oh yeah, that's an easy
Ashton's
hold.
actually great off to like insane start. It's not even a great start. It's actually insane, and
JokeonU with 4 workers is he's just not able to punish Ashton whatsoever. So Ashton really getting away with his hyper greed here in the early game.
Yeah, and we'll see whether Ashton can use like all his additional pressure to punish Shadowings.
Now, Joke has at least finally been able to push up to 6 workers, but guess what? Ashton had that many on Wave 2.
Yeah, that's insane, and we can see that Ashton, like, he's treasure hunting his pack rat every round. That's every round you get 10 Mythium, and it's actually insane considering no one's leaking, so you don't even get punished for it. Like, usually early on when the waves are that fast, you want the pack rat, you want to treasure hunt it, as a normal worker would not generate you 10 Mythium.
Yeah.
And we can see Xgod pushing up on 8 workers. He just held his send and he went for 8 workers.
Nice.
Reading out like even more than Ashton.
Yeah, I mean, we called it before the game started, right? These guys are going to hyper greed, they're going to push really hard, they're going to play on the edge, and they are playing on the edge. Like, Ashton would have leaked mega hard to a Dragon Turtle on 3, I think. But they're just not being punished for it. And when you get away with that level of greed without being punished, the amount of advantage that you generate from that is just insane.
Yeah, and I think that's the point of them playing like that. You gotta shut them down early. You gotta at least get them good, at least get their king low, have some additional pressure where they can't afford to leak a wave later on because they will just die off of it, even to a smaller leak. But then being at 100% king health, not having leaked anything, being at 6 and 8 workers, respectively, an underground worker on Ashton as well, that's insane. And
it's pretty
they're sending just income as well.
It is pretty nutty, dude. Now, this income, it even has a chance to leak Shadow, depending whether his priestess dies early or not. But the Cannoneer goes right, that's really good for Shadow. I think with this, he should be okay. Oddman is down, so that's the end of the split. Oh, the cannon does go on the priestess, so it will kill it. But I think he's done enough damage already, yeah. I think if the cannon had gone left right off the bat and killed the priestess, he could have been in trouble, but of course the higher split there from Shadow saving his life a little bit here, and he's actually doing very well. Oh, a full hold, in fact. Wow, that was clutch. There's that red mask with 0% HP, by the way, so perfectly calculated hold there from Mr. Shadowings, proving once again why he is a 3k player.
I mean, he's the highest rated player in the game at the moment, and I mean, the mask wasn't even tantrum, so he didn't even specifically prepare for it, but rather just enabled himself to push to 9 workers with the tantrum mask here and clutch holding last wave, and that's setting him up to be competitive with Ashton and Xgod, at least from the scaling perspective. But we can see that the person lacking behind actually is JokeonU. He's the first person in this game to send a power merc, which you don't get full income for, and I don't think
if you look at their income in the middle there, you can see Joke is way behind the others. He's on 57. The second lowest is on 71.
Yeah, that will just continue to scale though.
Now he sent a mole here, which, I mean, it's okay against like the flower, but not great against all of the other stuff that Ashton had built. And the fact that Ashton's on 870 value here just means that he's got a pretty easy hold, I think. Or either that or a very small lead, but I think Daphne can just clean up here.
Yeah, he's holding, but it's not an easy hold. It got close, but also to say he got a bit unlucky with the second Daphne not getting focused at all and things like that. But like that just balloons the advantage that Xgod and Ashton do have.
Yeah. Having said that though, Shadow is certainly not slacking. He's on 11 workers. He's got decent income already. He's doing just fine.
Yes, I agree. Shadow is certainly keeping up, but the thing is that every team consists of 2 players, and Joke is like falling behind by a mile. It's not like that he's not competitive or that he's falling behind because he's starving his opponent, but rather he just got outpushed.
And all of this, by the way, is happening because Xgod didn't send 20 Mythium on wave 1, because that forced JokeonU off of his original plan, which was Graal into Sovereign on 3. And his whole game just changed off the back of that. Like, he had to add something on wave 2, then he got a 1 snail send, but he still couldn't push workers. Then he had to like push his Sovereign back into wave 4, then he had to play safe on 5. And it's this massive knock-on effect that's kept him super like subdued in this game, all because Xgod didn't send that Mythium on wave 1. So small decision there, making actually a very, very big impact.
Yeah, and I mean, in hindsight, it's just... in the end, you trade a bit of pressure by not sending on 1 for actually giving your opponent 6 gold.
Yeah.
And let me just hold my thought. We can see leaks coming in from everyone except Shadowings. We can see Ashton leaking, giving away 25 gold shotgun. We can see Xgod not holding either, and that actually will force some king damage.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that they get shut down, right, is nice. It's 25 gold. But if you look at it another way, the fact that Ashton's already on fire on wave 8 is really damning for the side of Shadow and Joke. Like, you shouldn't really be on fire on wave 8. But he has managed to generate a really, really big economic lead already, and I don't think that shutdown is going to help close the gap here. Having said that, Shadow is now on top of the power score, so...
Yeah, that's what I wanted to point out. I mean, even though his teammate is lagging behind, Shadowings, off of the shutdown, I mean, the shutdown works in the ways that both players get the shutdown, has the chance to become the strongest player in the game, because he will be able to continuously collect shutdowns if his teammate gets Ashton to league.
Yeah.
Even though he's the strongest player in the game power score wise. So if the dynamic of Joke being weaker than everyone else keeps up, that might actually balloon Shadowings to being the strongest and even stronger than the other ones because he can collect shutdowns.
Yeah. Alright, there's more income sends against Shadow, but he should just be absolutely fine against this. Meanwhile, everybody else is holding on to their Mythium. So when do we expect the next send to come? I don't think it's going to be 10 because both Xgod and Ashton have Daphnes available. There is all-out assault, so they could consider 11 or 12, but Ashton's just revealed the fact that he has Boar in his role.
Yeah, I mean, I do think we're still looking at an 11 or a 12. It's not just all-out assault if you really like want to add that little bit of a bigger punch to your role, but rather there's also giant snails. So if you don't have as much Mythium, but you want to like give that little bit of power spike to the send you're having, you can do that with giant snails as well. So
I point out, by the way, that Shadow actually has the best role in this game. He has Halo and he has Great Boar, which is insane. He even has Ocean Templar to go on the boars, which can cover him on like 14, 15, right? And even 20. So the way that works is when you have a Halo, you want to send small tank spam like snails and dragon turtles, but you can't send snails and dragon turtles because they have a boar. And what does a boar do? It charges into the wave and it instantly deletes all of those small tanks. So the combo is just really, really nasty to play against. And I just think if Shadow has a chance, he can absolutely snowball out of control this game and become completely unleakable.
I mean, in theory, he can be. If we're looking at the realistic numbers, he is a bit behind on the income side, but he's now catching up, obviously, because he had the highest workers and ascending as well. And we can see actually 2 all-out assaults, both on Shadow and JokeonU, and Ashton and Xgod actually probably still debating what they want to pick up to defend here, or at least to counter here.
But both of them just going for full income sends as well, so they even take all-out assault, but still go income. I don't know about that one, dude. I feel like if you're going to go full income, and you know that they're looking solid on the wave, because you know that he had a Priestess, you know that he had Boar, like, do you not just send income and then maybe take Sorcerer for yourself, because you both have Halos as well? I'm not sure, dude. Like, income and King? Something like that?
Yeah, I can see a solid case to be made for just playing, like, taking Sorcerer and just, like, playing your game from there on, but I think really the thing that tipped it over the edge for them is the shutdown on Ashton. I think they want to collect that again. I think they want to inject Shadowing with the additional gold, give Choke a bit of breathing room by having 25 extra gold.
Let's see what happens, because this Death Cap needs to die. It's absolutely obliterating the wave. Look how quickly that wave is being destroyed by Ashton's Sorcerer Death Cap. I think he just holds, no? There's a leak there on Joke, but Xgod leaks as well. Ashton, this is the important one because this is the shutdown.
Yeah, he's leaking.
He leaks. It's a very, very small leak, but that is a shutdown. And that is going to be some king damage. Now, all of this is full HP as well, so it's not going to be a tiny amount of king damage. Meanwhile, Shadowings will be able to full cover JokeonU's leak in mid, but JokeonU continuing to fall further and further behind. He's only on 11 workers now versus 14 from both enemy players.
Yeah, the thing is, it's not that like he has a role that can hold with insane value yet, like with insanely low value yet. I mean, in theory, he has it with a solid Avenger setup, but if you're just getting overrun and if the sends are too big, you probably won't hold, even though your role would technically allow it. And if you're too far behind, because you need a certain threshold of value to make your Avenger work.
I wonder when the call is now, because if we look at Shadowings, we can see 1675 value, 22 workers. Now that's a very aggressive play there from Shadowings. He obviously wants to try and go for a big send to try and end the game before Ashton and Xgod snowball too far out of control. The question is when. Like, do they want to go for 13 against the Boars and the Death Cap? Maybe. But Xgod's not terrible there. Like, he can get a Doomsday next wave, which he did shift gold for, so he will get that Doomsday for wave 13. Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. And meanwhile, JokeonU, with only 12 workers, isn't presenting the biggest threat against Ashton, who is the biggest player on the enemy team.
I do think we're looking at a 14 for Shadowings and JokeonU. I think they can't afford to send here, because JokeonU's Mythium is just way, way, way too low.
Oh, here it comes.
Oh, actually, they do.
Here it comes. Okay, so there's the Ghost Knight there from Shadow. Only a Mole from Joke. I assume he'll get a Hermit afterwards. I think it's close to whether he gets the Hermit or not, you know.
He gets it for sure if he wants to, but the question is,
he does just
really
get it.
Is it really worth getting? Yeah, he gets it. Is it really worth getting a Hermit against a potentially boosted Orchid? I think you actually might want to take some DTs there.
Ashton is building for 14, by the way, and even shifting gold. Oh, never mind. He's now full building, but he's still building for 14.
Yeah, and I mean, the send received it, but I actually don't see any pressure on Ashton. I think he'll just clear here, no?
I think this might work. Let's see how this aggro splits. Everything on this area, that's pretty good for Shadow. Pretty bad for Xgod. This will be a leak on Xgod, not a massive one. Oh wait, the Doomsday has lifesteal, that changes things. And meanwhile, Ashton, there will be a leak there, but very, very small, 1 or 2 creeps. And the lifesteal Doomsday, it is able to hold. So I feel like
that's huge.
That probably ends the game in favour of Ashton and Xgod, because Shadow and Joke, they kind of gave away their pressure here. And meanwhile, Ashton and Xgod, they continue to save. So Ashton having already 400 Mythium, Xgod having the same, and here comes the counter send. So wave 13, Shadow and Joke, they need to hold here. They need to hold here.
And I think we can see actually a big problem in Shadowings' build. His damage comes from his Tantrum Mask and his second Mask. And if Ashton adds another mole here, that damage greatly gets reduced. And
it does.
I think actually the Shadowings might have a problem with that big of a send and actually not even that high value on himself.
Joke needs a few more tanks. I think his role isn't amazing to be able to hold 14 or 15, but even full building. He is. This is a 480 send against Shadow, a 380 against Joke, and both of their values are looking pretty low.
I mean, to be fair, Joke has the Sovereign with the APS buff and the Ocean Templar and Dark
Shadow's
Mage.
his area tanking perfectly here, so there's something going in his favour.
But it's not enough for Joke there.
Yeah, Joke did quite well, but yeah, of course it will be a leak there. Shadow 66%. Joke, how is he going to... He won't kill anything else here, I don't think. The Four Eyes is just going to run over the remaining units. But not massive leaks. Not massive leaks. The game does not end here. The question is whether or not Ashton and Xgod just have too big of a lead.
I mean, if we check up on the income as well, we can see that Ashton has a slight lead over Shadowings, but the real big problem comes in when you look at Xgod versus JokeonU. Joke is really, really far behind. I mean, he's at 2/3 of the income that the other players do have.
Yeah, Joke is really struggling. The good thing in the favour of Shadow and Joke is that they have the correct suicide lineup, because Ashton is the big player on the left-hand side, and Joke is the weak player on the right-hand side. So post-wave 15, if JokeonU decides to just push those double workers and not build anything, then that is working in their favour, because you have the suicide player sending into the big player of the enemy team.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, Shadowings' setup, the boars and so on, can allow him to hold even massive sends. Like with Halo and Boar, you actually are rather fine off, as you alluded to earlier. But, I mean, will it be enough? We will see. But I think a solid case can be made for them. But I think that actually the advantage still obviously lays in the on the side of Ashton and Xgod.
Yeah. But I think it has to be a 17 send now from Xgod, sorry, from Shadow and Joke, because there's double Azaria on the side of Xgod, there's Flower and Firelord on the side of Ashton, and of course the Leviathan Circle as well. The problem with 17 is that Ashton also has the Great Boar, and Red Eyes is just insane on that wave. And Xgod as well with the Doomsday, very, very strong unit on 17. But they just can't win on 16, so I'm not sure.
We can see actually Forest coming out from Xgod, so it looks like Ashton and Xgod do want to send here.
Well, they do, they go for the send.
Shadowings and Joke are matching it.
Well, Joke might save, though. No, okay, he does send.
No one can afford to save with that league, I think. I mean, that league just makes a real...
Oh, yeah, it does. It does. I guess Joke probably sends something like a Four Eyes and a Hermit now. Here goes Pack. Alright, let's see, because we've got big sends coming out from all four players now. It's just a question of which side is able to hold better, and Ashton with the second death cap here, I think has answered that question already. Ashton is just a monster now on this wave. He even gets a third boar as well. I just don't know that the send from Joke's 16 workers is going to be big enough to break through that double death cap.
Yeah, I do agree, but on the other hand, actually for Joke and Shadowings, as long as they do survive here, they could be fine with the strategy of suiciding JokeonU. So if they do survive here, JokeonU is totally able to suicide from there on out, now that the double workers are in play.
And Shadow's send here, he actually has a potential to hold that with his masks and the fact that a lot of it was income send. So let's have a quick look here, because this is a 700 Mythium send here against Xgod, and we have to say this is a pretty weak wave here for Mr. Xgod. But as expected, Ashton just clearing up the wave there. He even spent 60 gold to boost these 3 veterans. It's just an easy hold there for Ashton. Really easy hold. Xgod leaks massive 97%, plus the shutdown. JokeonU leaks as expected, but Shadow, he's not able to hold. And I think that spells the end of the game here.
I mean, it's almost a full life like wave of Cardinals from the side of JokeonU and the Four Eyes, so yeah. I think you might be right there. Because as also there are almost no King upgrades, and the King spot is immolate, so I think we're looking at the end of the game here, and GG is already being called by JokeonU.
So well played there to Xcrash, Xgod and Ashton. Just really solid performance here. I mean, there were moments where Shadow and Joke looked pretty dangerous, but overall, I think Xgod and Ashton were just in a pretty strong lead from start to finish, especially with, I have to say, it all comes back to that start from JokeonU, and Xgod, the very tiny decision to not send a King up or a Snail on wave 1 just really ruined Joke's entire game plan, because he then has to build an Echo on 2, he can't get his Avenger with 5 workers on 3, and he's still like 4 workers on wave 4 with 420 value, and he's just a really slow start in a game where Ashton was already playing hyper greedy with his 6 workers and a treasure hunt on wave 3. Like, if you don't punish greed like that, then Ashton is absolutely going to snowball, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and Joke actually getting outpaced there is a quite obvious thing. And I mean, actually it was okay until the leak on 8 by him, because I think that really set him behind even further, but the damage was already done before that. I mean, if he holds, he might be able to catch up, but leaking even once when you're economically behind already just puts you further and further behind. And I think in the end, it also came down to Joke and Shadowings being outscaled, as I think Ashton and Xgod have not sent a power mercenary in the first 10 waves or so.
Yeah.
Let me just check on that. Yeah, the first power mercenaries they sent were on wave 14. So they really like laid the foundation for their scaling for later on, and that paid off, obviously.
Yeah. And the lobby is open already for the second game, so just while we wait for the players to arrive, do you have any predictions for game number 2?
Actually, I don't have, but I think actually, I don't have a personal preference, but I think that we can hope to see like a draw now coming in, so we can see the like this series go to full distance with best of 3.
Yeah.
So I think that Shadowings and Joke can have a chance of taking the game. I mean, they obviously have, but maybe if they like try to play it more standard with a greedier opener on Joke and like try to catch up and not fall behind, I think that a solid case for them can be made to win. That being said,
I mean that start was honestly pretty disastrous for Joke. So I think if he just gets a more normal start to the game, they can absolutely come back into this and bring it to 1-1 and even do the reverse sweep. You know, I certainly have faith in the CC Jesters to be able to give us a good fight for the rest of this series.
But since you answered that, I have another question. Do you think we'll see a snail come out or a send from someone coming out on wave 1? So like someone not sending wave 1 or sending a snail even? Do you think that's happening?
I think probably not from Xgod and Ashton, just because Shadow and Joke tend to play a bit safer, I would say. But it's always worth snailing Xgod and Ashton, I think, because they're both very greedy players, and you can quite often catch them out with that Windhawk, with that Consort, with that Wild Shroom start. So I kind of like snailing both of those players on the ladder, and I think it could be a good call, but it is very risky. You know, if you send that snail and they're not playing one of those risky openers, well, you've just given them 6 gold for nothing, right? So it doesn't sound big, but it really is a good advantage.
I mean, it enables some builds, for example, to push the 5th worker before income or things like that, or even during income and before the next wave, if we think about nightmares, such things. So it can actually make a difference.
Yep.
That being said, it can also be totally worth the risk, especially now with the buffs to the snail.
Yeah, absolutely. The buff snail actually makes a big difference against some openers. So things like Bone Crusher is now a lot riskier to go 5 or 6 workers, because if you haven't got the right supporting units, it can leak pretty heavily to a snail on wave 2.
I mean, even the best example would probably be Gate Guard, where you could start 5 workers usually, and even if you leak, actually it could even hold a snail back then, like before the snail got buffed. But even if you leak, it's okay because you're on 5 workers, the wave is going along, and you might even be able to send 40 before income. But now you just leak massively. You leak like 40%, 42%, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And without further ado, guys, the game is about to start, so let us swap over into this, and we have game number 2 of the series. All of the players picking Greed so far. So again, I'm not sure what the options were.
I can tell you, let me enlighten you, it's Fiesta again.
Another Fiesta game, but nobody picking it looks like. So everyone going for Greed rather than the maybe unreliable Fiesta.
Yeah, I do actually think it's the right choice. Maybe if the season progresses a bit further and people get more used to the playstyle of Fiesta, it might be worth it. But I think Fiesta being so new actually is kind of hard for the players to like play on such a high competitive level.
Yeah, exactly. Alright, so let's have a quick look at the openers. We've got Flying Force on Xgod and with the Fire Lord as well, which is insane because he has amazing early game with the Leviathan and with the Windhawk, and he has amazing late game with the Leviathan and the Phoenix. So he's got a really good role there, a really good role. Ashton's is less consistent, I would say. I don't think that's the best role I've ever seen, but it's not bad. It's certainly good in the early game, but maybe drops off a bit harder. Shadowings has a very good role, I would say. JokeonU has a very good role as well. So let's see how this game progresses.
Yeah, I mean, actually it's kind of interesting. You can see, for example, JokeonU opting for 2 tier 1 units and using none of them on wave 1.
And we do as well see the double risky start with Xgod and Joke both going for Windhawk, but there's not a snail in sight.
Yeah, but also the people, like 2 guys did not send on wave 1, and that's Shadowings and Xcod. They both held their Mythium. So we will see what happens there. I think actually, especially for Shadowings, receiving 2 snails can be quite dangerous if you have a Bone Crusher now that they're...
Oh, this is actually really clever what Xgod and Ashton have done, right? Let me just lay it out for you, because Xgod starts with his 5-worker Windhawk, Ashton starts with his Eternal Wanderer, which is a very, very slow start, and it means that Xgod, he didn't choose to, but he could have sent 40 Mythium pre-income here on wave 2 if he wanted to. So he could have gone for that Dragon Turtle here on wave 2 before income, which I think would have been pretty bad for Shadowings with the Bone Crusher opener. Although with the cat here placed higher, maybe not.
Yeah, I think actually that Shadow expected a send here, and I think that's the reason Xcrash chose not to send. I think he wants to put on like even more pressure than not sending on 1, but also like keeping the Bone Crusher on the edge where maybe against a big send you cannot defend as properly as you thought before.
Yeah.
Because the Brute would just shred through you.
Alright, and there was a double snail send here against Ashton, but guess what? He actually stayed 4 workers, added a consort here, and this just gives him the easiest hold of his life. There's no way that this leaks to 2 snails. So now, again, Ashton just reading the game very, very well, and he'll get a massive advantage off the back of this. And here comes Xgod's Brute, by the way. So there's Brute pre-income on 3. He can send a snail to go with it. And Shadowings does have 5 workers, so I assume he just stacks his cat 4 times now?
Yeah, I mean, he has to, but honestly, having all your value in 2 units and receiving a Brute can be a problem.
Yeah.
But no, actually he's opting for a second cat and he's feeding that one, so he wants to maybe like optimize his splitting between the units and like optimize his chances against the Brute, and yeah.
I mean, they are sharing aggro, but the one with the stacks is the one that's getting slowed down by the Brute. And because he doesn't have one with 3 stacks, he can't 2-shot any of the wave 3 creeps. But I mean, this will be a leak here from Shadow. And
yeah,
not a small one by any means. This is going to be quite a big leak. He might kill one more.
Yeah, he will, I think. Yeah, he does. But he's the only player leaking. But actually, that's a 50% leak, and that's quite a lot of pressure applied to him, and it's quite a lot of gold lost. And him starting Bone Crusher, which is a very strong start, not being on the highest worker count that early in the game, can be a problem going forward.
It can, but I think this is still fine, and we do have Shadow on 6 workers, we have Joke on 7, so they are matching the worker situation of Xgod and Ashton. They're not falling behind, I don't think. Obviously the leak here is in favour of Xgod, but it's not the end of the world. Like, Shadow can easily bring this back.
Yeah, I do agree. It's not nothing's said, nothing's done, but it's a bit it puts you down a bit. I mean, usually if you want to start Bone Crusher, you like hope for the Giga Fiesta game where you greed out every wave, use your regeneration to the maximum, and just like hold with ridiculously low value. But he has been denied that so far.
So JokeonU, it looks like he's shifting his gold here. He wants to get that Violet on 5. There is a send coming out from Ashton, but it's only 1 Dragon Turtle. So I think he's just fine against this. And meanwhile, we do have the double Turtle send against Xgod. So let's see if they can get some return damage done after Shadow's leak on wave 3. Looking decent, honestly. We have the magic damage able to kill the Warg there, rather than that staying alive forever. And this will be a leak here on Xgod. Not a huge one, but a leak nonetheless.
It's not that small either, honestly. It's 6 to 7 creeps depending. Actually, he killed off 2 more. That's actually huge. That's 6 in gold he collected there, which might not have happened. But I mean, it's a 42%. It's not little.
42% is fine. Like, it's 8% less than Shadow leaked on 3, but this was pure income. Remember, this was 2 turtles. There was no brute. There was no pal mercenary. I think this is actually fine. And JokeonU, by the way, didn't see it, but 9 workers on wave 4. After the slow start he had in game number 1, man, is he bringing this one back. JokeonU playing out of his mind right now.
I mean, he certainly pushed tremendously. I mean, he pushed, I think, 2 workers. It was off of a 40 cent he received here on wave 4. So that's some balls, I gotta say, and it looks like it's paying up for him, at least for this wave, as he's not receiving Ascendant. We'll see how he handles it going forward.
I think if there was a send here by Ashton, by the way, he would have been in mega trouble because, yeah, like, he only has 1 Bone Crusher to tank, but let's say there was a single brute send from Ashton, he's just going to leak everything.
Yeah, it could have been the case, but as we know, Ashton usually not sending power mercenaries early on, but rather going for the scaling. So
Yeah.
I think Joke had a good bet there, but on the other hand, we also have to see how he's going forward. Because I mean, sure, he held here to no cent, but what if? What happens next wave? What if he gets the 120 Mythium that Ashton has stored by now next wave? How does he handle it? Will he even handle it?
So JokeonU is going for a big send here with the double imps. Shadow is not. He only sends the snail, so he does decide to save against Ashton here.
We can see also Ashton sending into JokeonU now, and that's a Cannoneer. But I do not think that's enough to break the Violet.
Yeah.
Especially if the Bone Crusher can off-tank like it did. Maybe it gets much. We'll have to see. But I think the highest chance of leaking actually is. I mean, I think we can see two leaks here. JokeonU and Xgod actually both look like they're leaking here.
I think Joke might do okay with that Violet because it's an absolute beast. The problem is the Violet didn't split tank, so his Fire Elemental died very, very quickly. Now the Cannoneer attacks the Bone Crusher, so that's going to die very, very quickly. But if we have a quick look over at Xgod's lane, those imps are doing what imps do best, which is absolutely tearing him apart. Look at this dude, 73% there for Xgod.
I mean, it's
and there's 43% there from JokeonU, sure, but it's just not the same level of damage. Meanwhile, JokeonU had 9 workers already.
I mean, if you look at it, Xgod leaked both of his Sends and 3 Roccos, whereas JokeonU just leaked 1 Rocco and the Send. So that actually makes a huge difference into the gold they had been injected with.
Oh, but I have to point something out here because Shadowings, he went for the Fire Lord on wave 6. He was expecting the wave 6 send, but Xgod skipped. He decided to go 7 into the cat start, which is interesting to say the least, but it's really going to pay off for him here because this Mimic is going to ruin Shadowings' day. I just don't see how Shadow has a chance to hold it. I mean, sure, he's got 200 gold, so he's going to have very respectable value. He can pretty much full stack both of these cats, I feel like, which it has to be the play here.
I mean, but in no way can that be enough. There's a Mimic chewing through.
Yeah. The Mimic is just
every unit, basically.
Not just a Mimic, but a Brute to go with it as well. This is an enormous send from Xgod.
And actually, he can even add the snail. Yeah, he did. So that's 240 Mythium that Shadowings is receiving on wave 7.
Now, Ashton receives 200 as well, but he has higher value than Shadow does.
And
let's see.
Honestly, a better diverse set of defense types.
Yeah. Now let's see, because this Mimic is just absolutely ruining the Fire Lord now. It's going to die very, very quickly. Even stealing a last hit from the cat there. 83% there for Shadowings. That is brutal. Ashton Butcher, there will be a leak there as well, but not a big one.
Yeah, and Xgod as well.
Not covering. 47% to the resend there of JokeonU. Okay, this is actually not as bad as it first appeared for Shadow, because Joke can kill some of this in the mid with his remaining Aquas. Meanwhile, on this hand side, we're going to see some decent king damage.
Yeah, honestly, this game is looking more and more like the JokeonU redemption arc. I mean, he was the one who got abused last game and fell behind early, but now he's the one who's the highest workers.
Now he's the one who's 12 workers on wave 7, dude. Like, Joke is really, like, not scared after what happened in game 1. He's just come back fighting, kicking and screaming, and he is going to stamp his mark on this game number 2, for sure.
I mean, he even has the role to back it up. It's not like that his role will fall off. I mean, he can go for an Aqua spam. He will have a Phoenix. He will have Bunk. So he has actually quite a solid late game, or a solid scaling for later on. And I think that really, like, he's put himself into a prime position to pilot this game for his team and to maybe even win it for his team.
But Ashton has now caught up in workers, so he's pushed his 12th one here as well. The difference is that JokeonU has 130 Mythium saved up, so he can go for a pretty big send against Xgod whenever he decides to send. I don't really see it coming on wave 9. I could maybe see a big 10 send.
I mean, I think it's either a 9 or an 11 with the giant snails, if I'm being perfectly honest, and the overwork as well. I don't think you want the 10. Maybe you do, as Xgod is lacking some kind of tanks there, but I think that, JokeonU is better off Oh, actually,
JokeonU,
he's just...
he has 15 workers now, by the way. So Ashton, he did go for the income and king on wave 8, and that just gives JokeonU free reign to continue his snowball. And he really is playing very aggressively this game, and I love to see it.
But let me point out that I most certainly think that Joke will league wave 10. There's no way he's holding. He's got an Aqua combo and 2 Violets and a Bone Crusher, so...
Joke is not holding wave 10, that's a given. But Shadow is looking pretty strong there. The problem is that Xgod has a decent amount of Mythium saved up.
Yeah, so I think we're all looking just at a big 10 showdown, if I'm being perfectly honest. Like, if someone loses...
Ashton is a god on 10. Ashton is literally a god on 10. He has the Daphnes, he has consorts as well, he has the big chonky head chef to stand there and take some damage. I think he's completely fine on 10, and I just don't think that Shadow has enough Mythium to punish him there.
No, I think Shadow has to go for an income cent here, because actually... they do look somewhat doomed, but it looks like everyone's holding the nerf, and no, actually not. Some income is coming out in some sense, so yeah.
This is a big old send here from Xgod. We see Pack Leader, we see Snail, there's going to be another small tank, either a DT or a Snail, to go with it. But Shadowings, he does have the double Daphne, and I think this Fire Lord should tank for quite some time against the boss as well. So he might leak, but I don't think it should be a huge one unless he gets very poor aggro. But Shadow's not me, so he's not the unluckiest player in the entire Legion.
I mean, that's not the problem, honestly. Shadowings should hold here for his team, because the big problem is on the side of JokeonU. JokeonU will have troubles here. I mean, the Sens
JokeonU cannot hold here. There's absolutely no way. But the Sens, I mean, the Sens just give him more gold, because he's leaking here regardless, right? He should leak to no Sendrit. So let's have a quick look at Shadow's lane, because he's the one who needs to be able to hold. He does have Dark Mage just hyper buffing the Daphne there, just absolutely spitting out damage against the boss. So the boss does go down. And this was a big send from Xgod. Now, sure, he's going to leak. He's going to leak the Pack Leader. But even that's going to be a long, slow leak with the standoff here taking a very long time. And I think Shadow's completely fine with this leak here, especially because they continue to save. And look at their Mythium counts. We've got 250 on Shadow, 280 on Joke, and they can send whenever they want. Do they want 11? Do they want 12? Either way, they've got 2 very aggressive spells to go with it.
It's not that, yeah. I mean, it's also Xgod on 9 workers, who's receiving a send by JokeonU on 17 workers with potential overworking game. So them taking so little damage in Shadowings and JokeonU is like, it's huge against the likes of Xgod and Ashton.
Now, both taking the Giant Snails. We have 4 Eyes and Giant Snail spam from Joke. We have Witch and Giant Snail spam coming out from Shadow. Xgod and Ashton, how do you plan to hold here? They do have Protector, which is a decent enough spell, but Protector, I feel, gets more and more value late into the game when you have more tanks available.
Yeah, and especially like higher HP tanks, but this way it's... But I mean, they don't have another option, right? They can't just take the Snails. They do have to take the Protector and just find a way to hold.
I think Xgod should place Protector on his Fire Lord here, which he does. Ashton took Protector but didn't place it. Maybe he was expecting a 12 send. That might hurt him here.
I mean, it certainly will, right? I actually can't see Ashton holding with 1,800 value against a 320 cent, if I'm being perfectly honest.
But let's see, this Fire Lord is taking focus now. It dies. This is going to be a big leak there from Xgod. Meanwhile, on the side of Ashton, he's doing surprisingly okay, but it's still going to be a big leak. 88% Xgod and 78% Ashton. Do they die here, is the question.
Actually, I do think so. I mean, they have
Ashton calls the GGs.
Region.
I'm not sure. Yeah. They only have 1 King spell in terms of offensive King upgrades, and there is a full HP Witch and a nearly full HP Fire Lord. This will be close.
I mean, the players are even calling it, but I mean, Ashton and Xgod, the West side team, are fairly certain, whereas...
Oh, this is over. This is over. GG. Yeah. PC Jesters, they brought it back, dude. 1-1 in the series.
And it's not just... I mean, Shadow is a good player, don't get me wrong, but this happened off the back of Joke. Joke really put his carry pants on.
Insanely this game, yeah. After his poor start in game number 1, Joke really showing what he's made of here. This was really fantastic play from him. Really, really good to see.
I do agree. But that begs the question as to what kind of play we'll see from him next game. I mean, it's a decider game. Do you think he will be able to step up again and bring his carry-worthy performance again, or do you think we much rather see him lacking behind and falling behind? What do you think we can expect from specifically JokeonU in the next game?
I mean, they've got to be riding high, right? After a game like that where they just dominate versus Xgod and Ashton Butcher. They've got to have the morale advantage, I'm sure. So I'd like to think that we're going to see carry Joke and carry Shadow. But let's see. I think we should jump into the lobby straight away and get game number 3 underway.
Yeah, most certainly. Almost everyone's here already. And I think, actually, the question is, even if we see carrying JokeonU, do you think it will be enough? Because we know that Xgod and Ashton are two very, very capable players. So even if Joke brings his A game, this might not be enough. But we will see, and I hope for a close and good game this time around again.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I don't know, dude. Like, I don't think I could call it either way, because game number 1 was very heavily in favour of Xgod and Ashton. I think, we don't need to hammer the point home, but the start to that game was very bad for Joke, and it just was a really hard game right from the start. Like, it's hard to come back from something like that. But game number 2, they just seemed in really command and control. Like, JokeonU's really aggressive early worker push just really catapulted them to victory here. And I think if they can play like this again in game number 3, then I'm going to give it to Joke and Shadow.
Actually, there's one point I want to bring up that we have not discussed really yet this game. What if we see a random mastermind option that we have not seen yet, or at least that has not been picked yet? Because for now, everyone has been playing standard greed. And what if we see something like a cartel, maybe even a cash out if someone wants to go for it? So what do you think? Or even a hybrid if
I would really like to see one of the new options being picked in this game, because so far we've only seen greed and lock-in. We haven't seen anybody take one of the new mastermind options. So, I mean, I think for the sake of an interesting cast, I would love to see one of the new options, but I can't fault the players for not wanting to take like an unfamiliar playstyle when there's money on the line. You've got to play to your strengths.
Yeah, I do agree, and we are hopping right into the game. There's no aggressive or no ultra aggressive king spell this time around. There's just a Titan, a hero, and
Embargo.
Actually, I'm sorry. I just kept laughing because I just received confirmation again. Do you want to guess the Legion spell?
Again.
The mastermind option. It's Fiesta
again. It was Fiesta again. So here we are, guys. Game number 3. Let's get it on. We've got Xcrash versus CC Jesters. It was another Fiesta game, and it means all 4 players have once again decided to play Greed rather than Fiesta. So let's see what happens here. I'm gonna say it, dude. I'm gonna throw this out there. They're all pussies. Like, you get Fiesta 3 times in a row. One of you guys has got to play it at least once. Like, come on, guys.
Anyways, even though no one picked Fiesta, we can all agree it is a Fiesta. Just by the game memeing the players by presenting them with Fiesta 3 times in a row. So like, you didn't pick it first time. Okay, I'll give it to you another time and another.
Absolutely, dude, absolutely. And I would really have liked to see Ashton at least go for the Fiesta here, because if anyone can pilot Fiesta, it has to be Ashton, right?
Yeah, but I stand by the detriment of the players probably, but in no way being comfortable enough to pilot.
The snail!
Oh, wow.
JokeonU with the snail turned into Ashton's Windhawk, and he's playing rats! Like, if you're Windhawk with 5 workers, the snail's actually not that bad, because you still have your 90 gold for your Tempest or whatever on wave 2. But if you're Windhawk with 3 workers and a treasure hunt, there's a very different story, because you have a really long wave with lower worker count, and long waves are just really, really bad for pack rats.
Yeah, there's nothing to add. I'm glad that actually that JokeonU cut off my point, because that's impressive, and it's also a Berserker start clearing not as fast as the other ones, and just adding time for the units to wait in front of the gate, whereas Ashton is stuck on 4 workers where he would want to be 5 workers, really.
Yeah. A really, really good call there. And we were discussing the snails a lot in game number 2. So I'm really happy that JokeonU decided to go for that snail send here in game number 3, right? He's like, I'm not scared. I'm going to take the gamble. If it pays off, we get a big advantage. If it doesn't pay off, Ashton gets an advantage. And guess what? It pays off. And that's just really, really good for JokeonU and Shadowings. They've got a pretty good start already in game number 3.
Can we just say that Ashton really should have taken Fiesta?
Oh, yeah, Ashton absolutely should have taken Fiesta.
I mean, the game just punished him. Okay, we can see a 40 on wave 2 coming out against Shadowings from Ashton, as he needed income. And actually,
is this
I'm
going
not
to
so
be
sure.
a mega leak?
Yeah, it should be,
Or is it
right?
going to be a
Dragon
clutch?
Turtle-
Oh no! Shadow! No! What have you done? No, the Ranger just tanked too much and it died way too early. I'm absolutely gutted for him, and here we were saying what a good start for Joke on Shadow. But this kind of changes things.
Yeah, it doesn't just kind of changes things. It just... Wow, that hurt them immensely. And Ashton's Dragon Turtle, it even came out before income, so...
Oh
that
no!
really...
Oh, Shadow! I just feel for him. I feel for him, and because I know Shadow as well as I do, I just know that he's absolutely kicking himself. He's absolutely kicking himself after this.
That's what I want to say. I think everyone who has played Flower previously and had shares the same fate, they just all really feel for him, I think, at this point.
This is an 80 Mythium send against JokeonU here on wave 3. Sure, he stayed 4 workers, so he should be just fine. But let's have a look. Do the 60 sends accomplish anything against Xgod and Ashton? They do not, I believe. Unless...
Actually, Xgod might... No, he
Oh, he just gets the lizard as well? Ah! So they both hold. Of
Everyone's
course,
holding.
everybody holds. But, I mean, that massive leak on wave 2 was just really, really bad for Mr. Shadowings.
Yeah, I mean, that hurt him. That put the insanely early game pushing Flower a bit behind. And now he's transitioned into a Daphne as his carry unit as for now. No, actually, he opts to go
I
for the
like this more.
Infiltrator.
He goes for the Infiltrator, he shifts his 50 gold, he's going to try and go for the Orchid on wave 5, which is obviously amazing on 5 and 6. Then he just needs to worry about something to hold wave 7, and he does have that bunk in his role.
Yeah, I think really the play for Shadow is mapping out quite nicely with him placing an Infiltrator here. He can go for an Orchid against 5, and I don't think Ashton will dare to send into the Orchid on wave 6. So Shadowings can comfortably shift into a bunk on wave 7 and map it from there on out. Actually, Ashton seems to be embracing the Fiesta playstyle almost. That's super close, and I think it actually will cause him to leak, right? Yeah, we can see him leaking.
This is a leak, but a very small leak there. Very, very small. So 2 creep leak there, while Ashton has 7 workers, by the way. Really should have picked Fiesta. He really should have picked Fiesta.
I mean, after leaking wave 1, we called it, but now, like, him leaking a wave where he gets an upset, like, that's not Fiesta. Like, what happened there? Did he not realize the gift the game offered him?
I'm taunting him a little bit. I'm whispering +4 sunglasses emote.
I don't think you should interfere with players in that state of mind, if I'm being perfectly honest.
But I'm a very professional caster. I'm a very professional caster.
Yeah, and you never feel bad for anyone or taunt anyone. You're basically the patience in person.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Exactly. I'm basically a saint. All right.
Yeah.
So we have some income sends, but we do have a pretty big send, 100 send against Xgod, who did value pretty hard. So let's see. I mean, this Fire Elemental surviving is just amazing for him. I think this just gives him a full hold, in fact, because now the Hermit goes on to the Rogue Wave, which was full HP, and that is just insane aggro share there from Xgod, giving him what looks like an easy hold against the 100 send from Shadow.
Yeah, that actually was a masterclass of splitting the aggro between 2 ranged units on a wave with a very specific aggro behavior in having the mini boss spawn from.
Yeah. Now, Ashton, he does go for the Bounty Hunter upgrade here on 6. He wants to make sure he can collect those juicy stacks on wave 7. But JokeonU doesn't send him here on 6. There's no need to go for income. It looks like he wants to go wave 7 anyway. And Ashton does not look amazing there on wave 7, you know? He even has another angler here. He now looks pretty trash on 7.
I like your playing words. I think he might hope to get something like a Pegasus to tank the wave and hope the damage like magically appears, honestly. But yeah, I can see why Ashton would be in a bit of a like problem situation here, really.
But nobody is sending Mythium here on wave 6. So we have a decent chunk saved up by all of the players apart from Shadow, who of course sent on wave 5. There's an income send from Xgod and Ashton, but I expected to see that wave 7 send from Joke. It doesn't come. He is saving his Mythium here, so he wants to go for a knockout blow.
Yeah, it seems like it, but actually that could just might as well work. I mean, they're just receiving income sends, and they should be able to hold. If we're looking at the builds, they're fairly okay here, I think, at least against that small of a send.
Alright, here it comes. So we have the 120 against Joke. Yeah, I agree, he should do pretty fine. It might be a leak, it won't be a huge one. And Shadowings with the triple lizard there. Again, I mean, he doesn't have the best damage because, of course, he has the Daphne and the Ranger. But his most expensive unit there, the Orchid, is obviously a very bad damage type against this wave. And the lizards are able to kill it pretty quickly. So this will be a leak here from Shadowings. Again, not a huge one, though, so it's not terrible.
I mean, but actually, not a big for them is great, if we're being honest. Yeah. I mean, since JokeonU is holding, they both held their nerves and didn't send. I mean, we can see JokeonU sitting on 220 Mythium almost.
So when are they going to send, though? Like, do they go 8 when Xgod has the Aqua combo and a Disciple? Like, normally the Aqua combo can be pretty vulnerable to a Mole send on 8, but with the Disciple, that changes things. So Shadow actually goes Hermit.
And we can see almost everyone's sending. I mean, yeah, everyone clicked their boxes on the sides of Xgod and Ashton. They just sent for income to be able to hold here, and Joke and Shadow really like bringing the pressure. I mean, those are huge sends for such an early state of the game.
The sends are big, but the value on the side of Xgod and Ashton is even bigger. We see Xgod is actually overvalue there with 1,015, and Ashton, he just full on sells the pack rat to get the Kingpin here. So he's going to have no problem holding either.
I mean, I think it's fair play if we're being perfectly honest.
Yeah. I mean, this is a 260 Mythium send, right? Like, if he didn't go for the Kingpin here, it's a pretty much guaranteed leak. But the fact that he does, it just makes this, I think, an easy hold for Ashton as well.
Yeah, I do agree. I think it's that was totally the right choice. And we can also see Xgod, like, holding easily as well.
Yeah, Xgod, I'm not surprised by Xgod holding easily. He was overvalue here, so I think that was kind of easy for him. But yeah, Ashton, with that decision to sell his pack rat, upgrade the Kingpin, he's able to hold as well. And this was a big save from JokeonU, which is not paying off for him.
Yeah, I do think that really hurt him.
So look at this. Both players on the side of Xcrash now on fire. So the long save not paying off for Shadow and Joke. And now the lead is really heavily in favour of Xgod and Ashton.
And if we take a quick look at the roles, I mean, Ashton and Xgod both have really strong late game roles. Both have like found themselves the boar. Both have a Disciple.
Oh, they both have Disciple boar, dude. And there's even Steed on the side of Ashton as well. Their late game is nuts. Absolutely nuts. Like JokeonU, he has Antler and Gate, which is not too shabby, especially with Hero. But Shadow's role certainly looks like it falls off into the late game.
I do agree. I mean, JokeonU also has the Steeds, which adds like insane amount of value as those gates will pump out the units earlier. But in general, like if you take a look at the like bigger picture, even a solid gate roll or a good gate roll probably won't be able to compete with boars plus a Disciple plus even Aqua spam to amplify the damage like every spell makes. So I think that Ashton and Xgod not just being behind but also being up with their roles is really like that really puts them into driving seat for this game.
Yeah, agreed. And Xgod, he doesn't want to show the boar here, so he did place a great boar, then changed his mind and added a couple of disciples. So he's hiding that boar. He's going to drop it on wave 11 to be able to try and hold a send there, in which case he should be just fine with his amount of value. And Ashton, now finally being able to push workers, he has the highest count in the game because, of course, that Kingpin gives him a big power spike to be able to push hard. And I just think this is kind of starting to slide out of control a little bit for Joke and Shadow.
Yeah, I have to agree, unfortunately. At least unfortunately for Joke and Shadow. But maybe they can pull like some magic trick out of their head, and do you think we will just see everyone picking hero here?
I certainly expect hero for Joke. Shadow, I'm less sure because hero's not amazing here. So Shadow takes the embargo. I think hero would be very good for Ashton, especially with where he's placing that ball. That's definitely a hero positioning. And he changes his mind and goes for an LOD, but he's still going to take hero there, right? Yeah, of course. JokeonU with the hero, so he does want the hero for his gates. And Xgod, the last person to decide, is he going to go hero or is he going to take one of the other two choices?
And actually we can see sends coming out. It's just income sends, but literally everyone is sending for income here.
Xgod takes the Titan. He just throws Titan on his board here. He's even spending 20 gold to boost the Orchid. So because this is just a pure income send from Shadow and Joke, maybe the advantage goes a little bit back in their favour because they kind of bait Xgod into wasting 20 gold.
I don't think that the 20 gold are enough, honestly. No. Just like, since Ashton's already so far ahead, and just receiving a send here so can push even harder now, and I think that's...
Maybe if the Cannoneer survived and was able to kill and claim the shutdown, but no, that's just a hold there from Ashton, and a hold, of course, from Xgod as well. And yeah.
I mean, I think you look at the boosted Orchid and you're like, yeah, that's nice, but that's it. Like, that's the end of it. So, yeah.
I'm trying to find the silver thread in the clouds for Shadow and Joke. Like, how do they come back? What is Joke and Shadow's path back to victory in this game? If we take a look at the roles, like JokeonU's role is certainly very strong. You can never discount gates in the late game, especially when they have supporting units like Whitemane, like Steed, and of course the hero buff on them makes them pretty insane. But Xgod and Ashton both having Disciple Boar. Xgod even finds the gate of his own now, so he has Ocean Templar, Gate, Starcaller Boar. Like, his role is absolutely filthy.
Yeah, and I think that also it comes down to how do they break Ashton, because Ashton has not presented any weakness yet this game. Yeah. He's good he's okay 13, or and at least with insane value. He's okay 14. He's insane 15 again. So he basically can cover any wave besides maybe wave 16. But yeah, I think it really comes down as to how Ashton can be shut down.
Yeah. They're going to have to go for some risky play, I think, to be able to win this one. Now, Shadow does have a large amount of Mythium saved up, so he is still applying the pressure there to Xgod. But I don't really see them able to do anything before at least wave 15. And even that's not guaranteed with the roles of Xgod and Ashton.
Yeah, I do think that that Shadowings and Joke are now hoping. I mean, there are two scenarios now. Either it's a 15 showdown, everyone's sending 15, that can totally happen, both teams sending 15. Or we can see Ashton and Xgod sending 14, and probably Shadow and JokeonU then countering the 16.
Yeah.
But I think that those are the two most likely scenarios at the moment.
Alright, so this is easy holds, of course, because everyone's holding on to their Mythium for now. Ashton just going for a couple of King Ups. There's a 14 send coming from Joke and Shadow. What do you think about that? I think it's optimistic.
Yeah, I think they really just do that because they feel pressured. I don't see a strategic reason to send here if you don't feel immensely pressured.
Now, Ashton just goes pure income here. He knows he's ahead. He just wants to solidify that advantage. Goes for the Cannoneers. He can even go for some King Ups as well now if he wants to.
I mean, Ashton added a second kingpin, a second hero kingpin for wave 14. I mean,
he's strong.
His damage output is immense.
He is strong here, and the send he's receiving is not insane, right? He's getting a pack leader and 3 brutes probably. Meanwhile, JokeonU has Titan on a red eyes. He has a Starcaller buffing 3 disciples. I just don't think they can get enough damage done here.
Yeah, I do really.
But let's have a look, because the send from Shadow is pretty big. That's a 480 send, and Xgod value is not insane. Ashton has lost 1 kingpin. Second one getting focused.
We can see Xgod leaking heavily here. But
94%, yeah, that's pretty big. And Ashton, JokeonU meanwhile 82%. Shadow, he will leak, but it's not a bad one on the side of Shadow. Only the Cannoneers there, so I mean, this is bad. They take some damage, but it's not the end of the world. And they do get that 50 gold shutdown from Mr. Ashton.
Yeah, actually, this worked out way better than I expected for Shadowings and JokeonU. I mean, that 50 gold shutdown really makes it worth it. I suspect from looking at the leaks that they will take roughly about the same damage, maybe some more on the side of JokeonU and Shadowings, but that being said, I mean, getting additional 50 gold for that is actually, it's a worth trade.
So their king HP dropping down to 45%, and meanwhile on this side, 37%. So a little bit more advantage going to Joke and Shadow, just because there was, a couple of full HP ogres reaching the king, and those really do deal out some damage. The thing is, Ashton, he's only grown his advantage, so despite giving away 50 gold shutdown on 14, he's now on a 75 gold shutdown on 15. So, but do you see what I see? Do you see what Shadow's done here?
Shadow is preparing for later on. He's massing his AoE damage, so he can hold very well, even with lower value and even with against bigger sends, just because he spreads through everything.
Shadow
with his
is
AoE flowers.
He is preparing to hold wave 16 with low value, but he also pushed very, very hard. So he's gone up to 22 workers here, pushing on wave 14, so before getting that double worker post 15 buff. That indicates to me that they want a wave 16 send. They want to try and end the game on 16 before Xgod and Ashton reach that kind of Super Saiyan state where they just become unleakable in the late game.
Sense, because when we looked at the builds earlier, the only real weakness we could see on Xgod and Ashton was 16.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that's just what it comes down to. And I think if Ashton, for example, holds here and they live, they will not ever catch him again. He'll be just, he will have scaled out of the game.
So let's see if Ashton dares to hunt his pack rats again here. That might be the decision maker, whether he decides to go for a treasure hunt here or not. So do they read this correctly? Do they think the send is coming here on 16? Or do they expect Joke and Shadow to do something like a long save into 18?
I mean, we can see some careful preparation being placed down by Ashton, adding a boar and things, but actually that might not be enough. I mean, his value is fairly okay, but
some of his units are quite bad. Like Kingpins are not good on 16, boars are not great on 16. We do have 2 boosted orchids here from Xgod, but I don't expect Xgod to hold.
I mean,
he is obliterating the imps there, so all of the sends from Shadow just died instantly, and you know what? That's because of the boar, right? We talked about it earlier. Boar's just very, very difficult to send against because of their charge damage.
Yeah, and actually Ashton is doing way, way better than I personally expected.
Ashton's just holding this. Yeah, this is really hard now. They needed to get a lot of damage or just straight up end the game here, but actually both Xgod even holding with minus 440 value here, just really showing the insane power levels of Great Boar and Disciple in the late game.
Yeah, and I mean, Ashton holding there is okay, you can somewhat expect, even though he was weak on his wave, he had quite,
he was over 4,000 value on 16, it's kind of expected for Ashton to hold there. But the fact that Xgod holds as well while being minus 400 value is just devastating for JokeonU and Shadow, and they were already kind of behind, but now you can see the power score charts. Ashton on 150 gold shutdown, Xgod also on a 25 gold shutdown now as well. They're just leagues ahead of JokeonU and Shadow, and I think the game may just end here on 17.
Yeah, I personally do feel like Joke and Shadow have like transformed into the lamb that is just waiting for the slaughter.
Yeah. Now, JokeonU is pretty strong here with his hero gates. Like, gates are amazing on 17, and the Leviathan's actually usually quite bad on 17, but what they're doing is they're opening up the sends so they can get sniped off pretty quickly. So JokeonU might even be able to hold here, but Shadow, of course, cannot. Let's see, there is another raft of summons. He needs to get those melee ones out before the gates die. One gate's down, the second one does summon, but it's not going to be enough. JokeonU will leak as well, and this does end the game here, I believe. I don't think they can survive that without their king being particularly upgraded. Here comes the GG from JokeonU. It looks like victory there for Xcrash, taking the game here on wave 17.
Yeah, and like it just comes down to the clutch holds in on wave 16. I mean, not even sending income, not king upping, being fully confident and just holding and yeah, winning the game off of that here.
Yeah, really well played. Very well played. Xgod and Ashton. And I really feel for Shadow and JokeonU there. Like, after playing so well in game number 2, game 3 kind of felt really hard for them. And if we have a look at the graph, we can see that Xgod and Ashton were just ahead from start to finish, pretty much. And it all comes down to that leak from Shadow on wave 2. That was really, really unfortunate for him.
It really was a roller coaster ride, I think, because I mean, you sent the snail, like Joke sent the snail on 1, got Ashton, caught him with his pants down, got the Windhawk to leak over 50%, and the pack crit as well, so there's not even a 5-worker start. And then your teammate in Shadowings just leaks about 100% on wave 2 just due to one tick of the flower. And
that was absolutely crushing. I think his ranger must just have taken too much aggro. Like, if his ranger's half a square lower, he probably just holds or like leaks one creep or something like this, right? But it's just absolutely devastating.
Dragon Turtle.
Yeah, but his ranger just got overwhelmed there, and once his ranger was down, it was all of that damage on top of the flower, and he just couldn't handle it.
Yeah, I gotta agree. And that really like opened it up for Ashton to go Ashton mode and just snowball from there on.
Yeah, and if we look at this as well, like big sends coming out on wave 8, Xgod and Ashton both holding, then able to push really hard workers off the back of that. And yeah, they kind of just continue to snowball through the mid game. We did see a bit of action on wave 14, but Ashton was just huge at this point already. They're easily able to hold wave 16 on the side of Ashton. Xgod, I am still surprised that Xgod held the 380 send, but it is just the insane power level of Boar and Disciple kind of nullifying the send from Shadowings, because yeah, it's a little bit crushing your spirit, to be honest, when you have to play against a role like this.
Yeah, I mean, the Orchid also being boosted and sniping out the sense that the Boar already damaged and things like that. So that the sense got obliterated, and that was really a feels good moment for Xgod and a feels bad moment for Shadowings and Joke, as Xgod even held with his low value.
Absolutely, dude. Right.